Dogs have attachment issues. Believe me, I've seen it. My parents have 3 dogs and about 500,000 dog toys. And it is very fascinating to see how each of the dogs believes that all of the toys are its own. So it can be kind of funny when my mom's little Maltese fuzzball thing sees one of the big dogs takes a toy and wants to go take it from them. But it can be kind of frightening when the big dogs face off. Humans have attachment issues. And likewise, it can be kind of funny sometimes, but it can also be kind of frightening. Although I don't know if size plays the same role. So it's important for us to develop detachment, especially as Dominican friars living in community. But not any kind of detachment, a holy detachment. And there are a few essential aspects of holy detachment. The first is that holy detachment must be humble. For an example of holy detachment, we can see the life of St. Paul. He describes himself as a young man as being rather prideful, as far excelling all his peers in study and devotion to the law. And after his conversion, he describes himself as the least of the apostles. And a little later, he is the least of the kingdom of God. And in one of his last letters, he describes himself as the greatest of sinners. So it's clear the progression of humility in Paul's own life. Now, when detachment is not humble, it becomes ambitious. An example of ambitious detachment could be the person that wants desperately to be rich, and they're content either working 80 hours a week or robbing a bank. They're detached, doesn't matter. Or an image that John Henry Newman uses is that of an arm that so desperately wants to be pure and clean that whenever it detects a sickness in the body, it will detach itself. And we can imagine how that ends up. So, holy detachment must be humble. Holy detachment must also be zealous. And for an example of zealous detachment, we can look to our father, St. Dominic. Now, we're all very familiar with the story of St. Dominic and how he, throughout his life, never really sought to implement his own agenda, but rather responded generously and zealously to the promptings of others. And I think a perfect example of Dominic's zealous detachment is at the first general chapter, when after Dominic stepped down from being master of the order and the brothers re-elected him, he served zealously for the rest of his life. So, holy detachment must be zealous. And when it's not, it becomes lazy. Here I think of the old dog. And we can all imagine the old dog laying out in the sun, and you can poke it and prod it. You can use treats and call its name, and it doesn't care. It is totally apathetic. Whatever happens to it, it is detached. So, clearly we must be humble and zealous to be truly detached. And we find in the example of our Blessed Mother that when we are both humble and zealous, our detachment becomes fruitful. And for this we can look at the joyful mysteries of the Rosary. How in the Annunciation, Mary shows for us a humble detachment when she says to the angel Gabriel, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Be it done unto me according to thy word." And Mary shows for us zealous detachment when, in the visitation, she hears of Elizabeth's pregnancy and makes haste to be with her. And finally, Mary's detachment is fruitful in the Nativity, where she literally bears God incarnate as the fruit of her womb. So we should reflect on our own life and consider, do we reflect more of St. Paul or the ambitious man? Do we reflect more of St. Dominic or the old dog? And let us, like Mary, continue to bear fruit through holy detachment, that we may advance the kingdom of God.
Dear God,